It's about, hey, we are in your house. Everybody doing, let me apologize to you. The platform that we use is called StreamYard. Aaron and Jerome have been here, so don't think it was them. I hope that you didn't go too far. They have been here waiting to get in, and the StreamYard was backed up, and so it is what it is. But we are here. Welcome to another edition. We had music all queued up. We have danced our weaves out and stuff. Jerome's his wig came off already because we were but I'm the amazing T Street, and welcome to another edition of Coffee with Tea. And yes, tonight's coffee mug is the oldest coffee mug in my collection. I've had this coffee mug since 1986. Yep, I'm dating myself. But it says it isn't wise to count your friends on a sunny day when the sky is blue and smiles come by the bushel. Instead, wait for a storm when the clouds roll in and the days grow dark and laughter is scarce. Whoever stands by you then deserves the name friend. Thank you, my friend, for braving the storms with me and for making the sunny days a little brighter. One of my besties gave me this in 1986. It survived all my moves.
That's awesome.
So we're going to get started. I do see that there's some folks on YouTube. Hey, YouTube, glad you guys are here. I have amazing guests for you tonight. You're going to be glad that you tuned in. Every week, you all tell me that you're glad that I always have really good guests, and tonight is no exception. Tonight, we got a duo. I like it. Everybody who knows me knows that I love love. I haven't found mine that lasts forever, but I love love. And so tonight we have Jerome and Aaron Hathaway, or like I like to put it, Aaron and Jerome Hathaway. I see their names on the screen, but I always put women first. I'm just saying. Aaron and Jerome Hathaway. And I learned some new things even while we were waiting to come on tonight. But I wanted to bring this dynamic couple on because right now, and it's not new, but it's heightened with the endemic and the pandemic. We have a crisis amongst our young people. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I note, not just in Columbus, but all around the country, is anytime there is a crisis, you see a money grab. People create programs out of thin air. And our kids deserve the best. And so when people bring things to the forefront that have no substance, and it's a lot of image, I'm always the queen of side eye. The bottom line is results and everything else is rhetoric. And so I met Aaron. I kind of knew who Sharon was, but I met Aaron. Aaron is the person I want to be when I grow up. And so I brought them on tonight because they run some mentoring programs that are really changing the lives of young people. They are creating strong leaders who have character. Everybody want to serve kids, but you want to be their friends. Our kids need people that they can look up to, who can give them guidance. Because if they had all the answers and if they were meant to be in charge, God would have brought them here first. These young people are on fire. They have a program that I learned tonight, started with a program called ICE Mentors. I'm going to let them talk to you about it. And then out of that, Aaron's program, Aaron Pink, grew, and she's going to talk about that program and what they're doing. But I wanted you all to hear. And so when you're thinking about where you want to invest your resources, yep, I'm going to do a pitch. They would never do a pitch. I'm going to do a pitch tonight. I don't put my money in places that don't produce results, because when you do, it's like placing good seed in bad soil. So I just want you to know I'm going to be investing, and I'm going to ask everybody else, if you are looking for a place where you can invest in the lives of young people, I'm going to ask you to consider their program. So we're going to get there later. Tell me a little bit about yourselves. And after you talk about, I want to hear about Aaron and Sharon first. I don't want to hear about the programs first. Tell my audience about who you all are.
Yes. Well, thank you for having us. I'm excited to share this space with you this evening and to get on and allowing StreamYard to let us get on tonight. But
finally,
a little bit about us. So Sharon and I grew up together at church. He is my brother's friend, and I was that kid's sister that has crushed this guy since I was 12 years old. So I've had my eye on him since middle school. And what I would say about him and why I've had my eye on him, he has a very unique wisdom. Even at a young age, he's had a mature wisdom beyond his years that at my 12-year-old self, I was attracted to. And so at church, he was always the youth leader and the go-to guy for counsel and advice. And I liked that about him. And I watched him and as he grew up. And I've watched his girlfriends through the years, and I just sat in the silos and I just did me. And when the time was right, then he could pick up from there. When the time was right, what happened?
So when the time was right, the guy that she once crushed, she didn't like anymore. And so it's kind of funny because the tables turned. And so, Erin has always been a very polished young woman, very beautiful girl. And, when you're young, you're just young. She just had that gap. You could do 2 years younger, but that third year was just that extra stretch. So I was like, I don't know about 3 years, but so we grew up, went to college, lived our separate lives. But by the time I got out of college, I said, "Oh, this girl's bad," and she knew she was bad. So she wasn't interested in me. She was like, "Yeah, you okay now? You was cool back then, but you okay now." So I had to put in work. I was like, "Don't you remember being 12?" You know what I mean? But but it was an amazing story, and I don't think it would happen the other way because a whole nother conversation, which I won't go into tonight, but I don't really believe in a woman chasing a man. That's not my big thing. And I don't think if I didn't have to chase that I wouldn't have been intrigued. And so I had to put in some work, but it was worth it. And I'm so glad that she loved me that way. So she's great.
I hope the young people who are listening heard that, ladies. Because there's a good book that says he who finds.
That's right.
He who finds. It says he who finds. So I appreciate that. He's like, he don't think y'all should be chasing. So ladies, take note. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got married. I was 22 and he was 20. He had proposed my senior year of college and got married the year after. So 23 and 26. So we are walking into 10 years this year.
Yeah.
I laugh for all the people on the call who are like my age are like, they babies. But what I love about y'all is that I love watching your family grow. I love, as you all are doing your things separately and also jointly, just the love that you put out there. And so it's a great model for young people who are coming behind you. What are some of the influences in your life that prompted you all and your desire to serve young men and young women?
You want to start one?
So we actually got involved in serving youth, you can assume, through church. We went through a course to teach Sunday school together. And so it birthed there for me, and specifically for girls at a young age always look up to older girls. And that was something that I authentically did. And I realized when I got to an age, I was the accountable one that young girls were looking up to me. And so I made that space and made myself available for that avenue. But it began at church, where we were serving youth. A lot of people always ask us, how did we start? We were serving the kids who were in front of us. It wasn't a business. It wasn't, for camera, for show. There were youth authentically and organically already in front of us, and we were making a path for them through our church. And then once it expanded beyond the four walls, we carried what we were doing in the community because it was a need for students beyond just the church setting. And I think it was just an organic move for us to
I would agree.
To go in that direction.
I would agree with that. And I would probably add that, church kind of taught us the journey, but life taught us the why. And so, church gave me everything I needed to know how to serve. It taught me how to do what we already know how to do. Very instrumental in that. But when you get older, life kind of teaches you the purpose. And so for me, I recognize in terms of serving, it was what I did not have. And when I came into my own space of life and I'm dealing with life on this journey by myself, and I did have family, but I'm like, how come I don't know some of these things? And I wonder if someone else doesn't know these things. I didn't have to wonder, I already knew. And so that knowledge needs to be passed down. And so that's what was a cause for us to serve both young women and young boys in our community.
I love that. So you saw the gap in yourself
I saw the
and
gap in
said,
myself.
how can I fill that gap for other people? So let me
That's
ask you, because so how did you know how to fill Sharon first and then Aaron? If you didn't have it, how did you figure out how to teach it to young boys in your case and young women in Aaron's case? How did you all figure that out if you didn't have it? Because I always tell people you can't teach what you don't know, can't lead where you won't go. How did
Yeah.
you figure that out?
Well, for me, and I'll start this one, they used to say experience is the best teacher, but I don't really agree with that. I could watch you go through the journey and know what to do and what not to do. I've always been observant. Like, that's one thing that I know. Matter of fact, I might even, profess that some of the things that I do today is because I've learned from watching other people.
Yeah.
And so if I can look at your journey, I could figure out what to do and what not to do and how I could do it maybe even better. And so I think that learning from some hard times, some hard challenges in some ways of life that you just have to question, is this really the way to get to where I want to go? Like, I know this, I know what you said, Mom. I know what you said, Dad. I know what everybody else is saying in the school system and whatever textbook, but is this really the way? Just observe. And you can figure out if that's really the destination for you, if that's the journey that you need to take.
I agree. And I feel like when I go back and think, when we started at 22, I gave what I had. What I knew how to do at that moment, I knew it was more than an 18-year-old, a 12-year-old. So I gave what I had. And even now at 33, I'm still learning, and I'm learning from others. Not too long ago, and I'm very comfortable with sharing this. Our counselor, she told me, I was expressing some stuff to her about my experiences and where I was in life. And this was a year or two ago. And she called me a fraud. And I was like, that's almost fighting words a little bit. But I didn't take it offensive, but she called me a fraud because she listened to the way I was expressing myself to her. And she said, how are you expressing yourself that way? And you're telling girls to live and be another way. And that moment was an awakening for me. So, just a couple years ago, I'm growing and learning and experiencing life daily and my new phases and journey. And I'm taking what I have and what I know, and I'm pouring it back to youth. And it's just organic. It's just love, and it's organic.
That's right.
I love that. I love that the notion that, one, you can observe life. I tell people all the time, I'm the person, when my mama said the stove was hot and then I watched my sister burn her hand, I ain't go near the stove. I didn't have to burn my hand to know it was hot. I watched the flesh on her hand turn brown. I was like, no, I'm good. Right. And then I love what you said, Aaron. I don't know that you were a fraud. I think that you were evolving, because part of that process that you now get to teach girls is, how do you move from talking about the greatness that is in you to living the greatness that is in you?
Exactly.
And you couldn't teach that had you not gone through that experience.
Exactly. That's it.
It's a part of your journey. And so I always tell people, no, you're not a fraud. What you are is a person who's developing the lesson for somebody else.
That's right. That's right.
So one of the things that I love about your programming, and I watch y'all all the time. Y'all have no idea. Like, I'm your stalker on social media. I stalk both of y'all. I'm going to start with you, Sharon, because as you all shared with me earlier, it all started with Ice first, because I had it backwards. Tell me a little bit about, well, not a little bit. Tell my audience about Ice Mentors and about Aaron, because what I want my audience to see is the uniqueness of the approach that both of you have that really has a lot of kids in this city hooked.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I would say I appreciate also your kind words about what you said about what we're doing in this space. So thank you very much. Something that we do take very seriously and dear to our hearts. But if you say how do we get here, or how do we start the journey with Ice Mentors? Well, Ice Mentors is a young character education development company or organization that helps youth navigate through life. But we started with boys. And one of the biggest things that I recognized that I know what, as again, my personal need was wisdom. If you ask, well, what does every young man need to know? He needs to know what's next. But he needs to know what's next, not later down the line. He needs to know what's going to happen in the next year, the next 2 years, like what's right in front of him. And so when I think of image character etiquette, when we first started it, I was like, well, how can we show young men great examples of other young men who are just a little bit older than them, but they have great values, they have great morals, they know where they're going, they're go-getters, but they love one woman, maybe, you know what I mean? But they're focused on just the right journey and the right path. And so I got together guys who were in college, they were already graduating. One's a doctor, an entrepreneur. We're young in our 20s, just trying to figure out how to be an example of what success looks like, a man who values family, who values education, and all the above. And I thought it was really, really important for us to show that picture that's not always told. But when it is told, it's from a bigger gap. But no, let's do it right now and create a mold of what this should look like at a young age. So that was the purpose behind it, with the bigger purpose of displaying wisdom and showing wisdom and giving it to the young men.
Okay. So one of the things that I noticed, and for the record, I've been watching and I was laughing as I go, when I come on your page, I'm always laughing at like the men that I know who are like, now they're like, I saw a picture the other day with Tristan. And I was like, Tristan, when he was in high school, was an intern. When he was at COS, he was an intern in my office, in the mayor's office of education. Mm-hmm. So that's how long I've known him. I've known him since he was a kid. And I'm like, oh my God, to see these men grow up and just be men of valor, and then offer that back. Because I agree with you. There is absolutely a space and a place for that near peer interaction. Mm-hmm. I mean, because, sometimes when folks roll up on these kids, they talk to them crazy. And you all know that. So you don't do those kinds of things. Tell me some of the things, Sharon, that are embedded as like some of the programmatic things that you all do with the young men.
Sure. So what we're very excited about is our curriculum on personal leadership, which is really built behind social emotional learning techniques. So I think it's very, very important for young men to know not only how goal setting, but now how to set priorities. They should understand character development. They should understand conflict resolution. They should understand a little bit about entrepreneurship, financial literacy. They should understand about family values, about, even the simple things about how to fix certain things around their home. So we take personal leadership, health and wellness, nutrition, and just expand it into every piece and area of knowledge that a young man should know about life.
What ages do you all serve?
Typically grades 6 through 9 is an age group. That's our sweet spot, grades 6 through 9.
So our program,
yes. If people only understood, it's in that area, 6th through 9th grade is where we lose our kids. We either get them or we lose them. That's right. If you wait until everybody's like, oh, I'm going to do a high school program. I always tell people, if you wait to high school, you waited too late, boo.
Yeah, we focus, we stay around the 6th grade, this middle school age, and then we retain them. And when they graduate from our middle school programming, they evolve into being junior mints or junior role models to then return as peer mentors. And that model is successful because that gives them that leadership role and that opportunity within the organization as well for student-led experiences.
Yes, I love that's the piece. So talk to me about Aaron P. Because I'm going to tell people, if you guys are looking for programs, and everybody I know is looking for programs for young people. People are desperate. I tell parents, now I want to interject this. You can never be the only influence in your child's life. And if you think that you are sorely mistaken. And it's a part of the reason why we lose so many of our kids. Because what I will tell you is when they become adolescents, something in their eardrums clicks. And they don't become deaf. They become tone deaf to your voice. Mm-hmm. And so you better pray that you've got some folks in the meantime that are the voices in the void for your kids when your voice can't be heard. For some of them, it's like a dog whistle when they hear their parents' voices, and they do this click. I'm not listening, la la la. So you better pray that you got a
Right.
Sharon and an Aaron and some programming around that. Talk to me about Aaron Pink.
Yeah, so Aaron Pink is a fictional 12-year-old character that we created to be a positive representation of what a Black girl in Columbus is today. And so a group of my girls from Columbus City Prep School for Girls, we came together and we had like a brain trust, and we kind of navigated what does it look like to be a middle school age girl today. This was pre-COVID. And they poured out, this is my experience as a 12-year-old. This is my experience as a 13-year-old. And from their real lived experiences, we formed the story and the life of Aaron Pink. And she's an animated cartoon. She goes to Champion Middle School here in Columbus. And that's only because we're in the backyard of Champion. So we live in the backyard of Champion. But she goes to Champion Middle School, and her life is a reflection of really what a brown girl in Columbus is living. And so through her life and her lived experiences, our curriculum and our school programs and our leadership programs are told through her story. And so through that, we offer school programs, leadership programs. We also have a few partnerships with a few organizations where we serve and mentor youth through event services and conference planning. But our goal is, in which the P and Pink stands for, is purpose. Our girls say, I am a girl with purpose. That's a part of our affirmation. Our goal is to introduce purpose. We're not expecting them to go, aha, I know what my purpose is, but we teach them, hey, everyone's purpose is to serve. My responsibility is to make you aware of that so that you can begin to navigate life. A lot of times students, they're like, I'm just here. I go to school because my mom makes me. I get up. They're just here. And so my goal is to show students, hey, there is a reason for which you exist. Let's figure this out. Let's begin to live purposefully, and to navigate experiences of being a brown girl, a Black girl in today's world, right? And what does that look like? And what does our girls told us, and even reported to the Commission on Black Girls, they desire leadership opportunities, right? They want to have roles where they are making decisions and their input is valued and heard. But they felt like they didn't have those opportunities because they felt like they were stereotyped or prejudged because of the way they looked. And those opportunities they just felt like they didn't have access to. So our goal is to train them, to position them where they will have those leadership opportunities. They have opportunities in the platform to speak up and be heard. Every time we have a program and the news wants to feature something that I'm doing, oh yeah, we gonna put a girl right in front of the camera to give her an opportunity to be heard. Listen to her. It's not the Aaron Pink show, the Miss Aaron show. Let's listen to this girl and what she has to say, because Black girls deserve to be heard. And that's what Aaron Pink is about.
Can I say to you, if I had a daughter, she would be an Aaron Pink.
Yes.
And it's all for that. And when people ask me why, y'all know, I don't care what you say. I'm one of the oldest and best youth programmers in this city, bar none. I am. And I'm unapologetic about that because that's one of the gifts that God gave me. And so I know good programming. And what I know is the city has a deficit in growing leaders. We grow folks who know how to read scripts that adults prepare, where they never give genuine and true voice to our young people. We put them on the stage and we shove a script in front of them, and everybody knows that they didn't write it but when they start to read the script, it's the first time they've seen it. That's not leadership. You said the optimal word, which is we train them.
Mm-hmm.
I train my kids and release them on the world. I'm like, okay, no, go be great and ask other people why they don't expect greatness from you. So one of the things that I first noticed about your program, Aaron, is that every time I saw that you all were going to be someplace or on somebody's agenda, including Delta's agenda when we had a conference, every single time I never got to hear you speak. Every time I heard someone speak, it was a girl. And I appreciated that. Both of you alluded to talking with our young people about some of the issues that they're facing. We've got a lot of adults on here. So my question to you is, what are some of the challenges that you all are seeing and hearing from our young people that they really are facing. I mean, I think adults have these concepts of what they think our kids are facing that are so out of touch, which is why they're having a hard time reaching our kids. What are some of those issues that our kids are facing?
I'll start first with this, and this is probably the root and the path and the journey of where Sharon and I, as a couple, are going. Our family is the foundation of a lot of issues that our students are dealing with. I can sit down, no matter the zip code of our students. I don't care where they are. If they're from Gahanna or the Hilltop, I will sit in a circle. And the first thing that they are dealing with is my parents and my family and what's happening at home. And that's the foundation. And your first teachers are your parents, or whatever is in your house. And so that is their biggest challenge, in my opinion, what they're facing at home and what they're being given at home and what they're being taught at home. And that contributes to some of our challenge too, as mentors, because we're going against what's being taught at home. And it's almost like a warfare. It's a spiritual thing that has to occur between myself, our team, and these kids. It's above me now when when what's going on with this kid is something that's been invested in them as a child. That's sometimes over my head, and I have to take it to the word and to God. But I feel like, I'm passionate about, that's why as a married couple, I am passionate about displaying this family life and what this looks like to be a young couple and entrepreneurs and have kids, because I want them to see, whether it's a single parent home or not, I want them to see what a healthy family can look like so that they can go on a different path. And I know that's not necessarily exactly the question that you asked, but that is what I'm passionate about. I'm very passionate about students and youth seeing healthy homes and healthy families, so that we can break some of those generational experiences and curses that we've had in our households, especially as people of color.
Okay.
I think that Erin said it perfectly, and she probably gave the accelerated answer to what was the root of a lot of things that we do see today. We know a lot of our conversations that we have with the young people, they need help with education. They're worried about peer pressure. Youth violence is big. They're looking for opportunities. They need skills. They need development. And all of that is very true. And it's very, very real. But at the core, that what we find on a continuous basis for the young is everything to do with what family structure is. I remember sitting with a group of young men very recently in the past just couple of months. And this was a group of young people or young men who were dealing with violence in their communities and some of the issues. And one of the guys said, matter of factly, he said, what we really need? We need our dads. We need our dads to be available. We need the relationship that we just don't have. And so I even see, as we stated earlier, that we're still growing in this. There's a big call for us, even as a couple, but as we're doing a lot of this work, we have to be able to push family forward, because, kids, these youth, they need families. They need the influence of families, and not just mom and dads, but the culture around families. It's the aunties, the uncles. We need to go back to Sunday dinners. We need to have conversations about life. We need to start talking about money at the table, just because, hey, we're all going to go out and do something about it and try to figure out what's the next thing. But they need that nourishment that family provides, and that should provide. And that's what needs to happen today with the youth.
I appreciate your focus on the family, and in places where families are not whole. I think we all have a responsibility to show up as those aunties and as the uncles and the folks who show up positively in the lives of young people. I tell people all the time, would that I only had to worry about my own kids. Would that were all that God had tasked me with. And there's some days when I'm mad at God. I'm like, oh, I gotta do that by kids. But as I look across the spectrum and as I get to witness like kids that have been a part of my journey, and I've been in their dash and they've been in my dash, and I get to watch the greatness. And, when kids come back, you're like, okay, God, I get the purpose that you had for me, because I get to see the fruit of my labor. I get to see kids who have done and are doing the daggone thing. And some of them are now parents, and some of them are sewing into other kids now and into new generations of young people. And I just think that that's essential. And I think that everybody in our community has a role to play.
Yeah,
I
certainly.
think that lots of folks abdicate responsibility because these children don't biologically belong to them. When I see kids running around stealing cars, I'm gonna have a conversation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a conversation. I know the Kia crew, the kids who they call the Kia crew who stole the Kia cars at the airport and were driving around. I know 3 of the boys. They go to school, they go to my school. I stopped and I
Mhm.
had the conversation and said, "Really, dudes?" I said, and having the honest conversation, saying, "Who would miss you if you died?"
Mhm.
Right.
And they say, "My mom." And I said, "Do you love your mom?" "Yeah." Because even kids who come from homes that are challenged, they still love their moms.
That's
And I
right.
asked them, I said, "Can I ask you a question? I need you to picture your mom having to sit on the front row. That's not love. You can't tell me you love your mom when you give her cause to maybe someday bury you. Stop this."
Right.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So I think that we all have a responsibility. And so one of the reasons that I love what you all do is that it just has this appeal. Kids that I never thought would like want to show up for your programs. I see some of my kids that I know in your pictures. I'm like, how did they hook him or her? That's interesting. And I'm always intrigued. So Aaron, Jerome talked a little bit about some of the foundational stuff that's embedded in the curriculum of ICE mentors. Tell me a little bit about some of the curricular things that are embedded in Aaron Pink. In addition to, the character, what are some of the things that come out of the curriculum for that?
Yes. So through our program, and it mirrors a little bit what Shrum said, but we focus first on personal leadership, teaching girls how to lead themselves first, and self-awareness. So them being comfortable and aware of who they are, when they show up, and how they show up. And then second, after navigating who I am, where I am, and who I am at this present time in personal leadership and self-care, then we take it into leadership, personal brand, public speaking, how to speak up, how to goal set, just goal setting, not goal setting, but leadership one-on-one. What does a girl leader look like? And then we transition into project-based programs where the girls take and they have the responsibility to look at real world situations and issues and solve them themselves. Like you mentioned earlier that, when you saw us show up, it was always a girl and you never heard me. Um, that's the goal. Whatever they create, whatever they foresee, or whatever they need, we allow that liberty for them to be themselves and show up themselves. And so I've had to completely change, like an old pastor or preacher would say, in the middle of his sermon, like, I'm going to close the Bible now, the Lord's going somewhere else. I've done that several times with our program. I've had to stop myself because I've had an agenda for what I felt like girls needed. And I've had to rewind and check myself and recognize and center them and provide for them based on where they are. And the only way you could do that is by giving them the platform and giving them the responsibility to lead it and create it, and then pour back into them based on where they are.
I love it. So Liza says, thank you for your work, all of you. Jerry says, it takes a whole neighborhood to raise a child, not just about the father being in the household. I had a father in my house, but I didn't have a dad. That's deep.
That is deep.
Right.
But I didn't have a dad. And so one of the things that I'm really curious about is, like for me, I always tell people I get to mentor because I've been mentored. And what I pour is so much of what was poured into me. Who are some of your mentors, and what are some of the lessons that they've taught you that have been beneficial to you?
So recently, I had to self-reflect and recognize, how did I even get into the space where I was an educator? And I recognized that I sat under both my parents for years who served youth. And my mom even went to school. She began school to be a teacher. And so I was always that little kid who had to sit in my mom's classes when I wasn't even old enough to be in her class. And I watched my parents teach youth. And so I would start there. My degree is in PR and I have a minor in dance and I'm teaching kids, So, and I recognize it was full circle. I'm kind of in a family business. So I would start with my parents and their guidance and who they are authentically. But along the way, I've had several women who didn't know they were my mentor. I watch and observe anyone who comes in my path. Every Black woman on my Facebook, I'm saying it right now, like I'm watching. And even you, T-Street, I just, I take what I can from everyone. And I'm observing who to be and how to not be. But growing up in college, I had a mentor. She was the dean of students at my college at Otterbein University. Her name is Dr. Lisa Phillips. And in college, she took me under her wing and challenged me. She didn't patty cake or hand things to me, let me pity party or complain. She, if I wanted to do something, she said, figure it out, learn how to do it. And so she was that type of woman to me. And she's still that type of woman to me now. She sits on our board. So this is a woman who mentored me in my early 20s and even in my early 30s. She's still that same voice. So I acknowledge and appreciate her every step of the way.
Awesome.
And my sister. I need to acknowledge I have an older sister. I always grew up, like that younger kid sister who wants to go everywhere their big sister goes. And she's definitely been a light and a light of love and a path for me as well.
Yeah, my sister's one of mine.
Yeah.
Sharon, who you got?
Yeah, I would say I have similar experience with Aaron. I've gotten great mentors along the journey of life. I would say probably one of my biggest influences was my mom. My mom passed away just about 3 years ago, but she has given me a lot of wisdom throughout the years, a lot of love, and I've learned to appreciate that, and even more so, I miss that even as she's gone. But I would say it was so funny because there's been several people on the journey. Miss Waddell, I call her Marseille Waddell. When I was in high school, she was teaching me how to get scholarships and all of this stuff. She gave me probably about 50 applications. I did 0, but I made it through. But she's been a voice for me for a long time. I think about some of my ex-leaders, my bosses that I had even in college. Mr. Corey Williamson, Miss Lauren March. I found voices of wisdom, even in my early career stages, LaShondra Baker, but even some of Coach Tim Brown has been a huge influence to me as I've been on this journey of leading young men. He's taken me right underneath his wing and helped me along the way. So I've found great people along the journey who have continued to pour into my life as I go day by day.
Awesome. Stephanie says mentors are so important. She said that in the chat. I was like, absolutely. They are extremely important. I always tell people, most of us don't get here on our own. We always talk about people telling me, I'm self-made. No, you're not. Stop it.
Yeah.
Unless you grew up in a cave, you're not self-made. Even television for some folks are influences. And so, no, we all have shoulders on which we stand. And so I appreciate you all shouting out some of who yours are. What's some advice that you can offer? Because I think that right now people have a genuine desire to want to help our young people, especially in our community. I think our community are hearing the clarion call. I think that they are. I think that they are seeing some things that are giving people, cause for pause and are really kind of saying, yeah, we got some issues. And I think that people genuinely want to help. What's some advice that you can offer others who want to make a difference in the lives of our young people but don't know how?
That's a good question. You want it?
Well, I think there's a couple different ways that people can help the community nowadays, especially young people. I'll speak to one that's been dear to my heart. And even as I am probably not as young as I used to be, but I'm still probably a younger male in some aspects who's on a trajectory of career or a life or a journey with a young family. But one thing that I think that everybody can do, especially some of the generation who's a little bit older than I, is pass down the wisdom. share the game, share the knowledge. We need it. I still need it. And we're listening, whether you think that we're not listening at all. And even I have to do the same thing with the ones that I'm leading now. They're listening. Even when they don't like what you're saying, they hear. Even when it doesn't sound motivating, they hear. And I think that one of the most challenging things is just getting real, genuine feedback. People who really care. They want to know that you care by just what you say and what you do. And sometimes it's not about what you say. Your presence speaks. Make the time. Just make yourself available. Just show up. You knew it was my birthday. Same time every year. It didn't mean anything. It's just a phone call. And I think even as families, when we had the conversation about families, it does take a village. Don't make the little things be an excuse to not show up. Just be there. Just your presence means a lot. Your phone call means a lot, but pass down the wisdom, share the love, and just start with the people that you see day by day.
Mm-hmm.
It means a lot. Your smile, your presence, your what's up, bro. I remember a guy said to me, "Hey, young bruh, man, that meant the world to me." He was just passing by, just speaking, going through door to door. Didn't know me from Adam, but just that sharing that knowledge, sharing that wisdom, just telling those stories. We need your stories.
Yes,
we need those stories. Those young people need that, and I think that's really important.
I agree. He said it all, and just to emphasize, it just starts with the people already, the young people and the youth that's right in front of you, your neighbors, the kids at your church, your children, and your children's friends.
I appreciate that. Stephanie said, "Come on now, share the game. Great advice." I think that it's essential. I tell people all the time. I said, the older I get, so there's a song by Sweet Honey in the Rock, and it's one of my favorite songs. And I love the verse that says, "The older I get, the better I know that the secret to my going on is when the reins are in the hands of the young who dare to run against the storm." And it talks about, the other verse talks about, you all have the courage, but what my job is to pass along those things that I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
So that, as you said earlier, you can observe it. You don't have to live it, and you don't have to step on the same landmines. I tell people all the time, there is enough resources going on that none of us are going to starve who are in this work. If everybody served, every kid, if every program that serves young people served their capacity, it still wouldn't be enough programs.
Mm-mm.
And so we sometimes hold on to resources like they really do belong to us. They don't.
Mm-hmm.
We hold on to kids like they belong only to us. They don't. And so as I'm watching you all do this, that's one of the things that I just really admire about you all, is that you're putting your kids out there. You're making sure that you bring folks in to impact their lives. You're giving them access to the stories of the elders and those kinds of things. And our culture, that's a piece that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
For the last couple of generations, we have dismissed the elders in our community, and then we wonder why there is no wisdom. You all use this word, why there's no wisdom. Wisdom comes with time and triedness.
Mm-hmm.
And so young people can't offer wisdom because they haven't lived enough yet.
Mm-hmm.
I pray to God that they will. I see a familiar person on here saying, "Sounds familiar from what we've heard as kids. It's good to hear our young adults are listening." I believe that was Mr. Ray Campbell put that on commentary. What's a question that I didn't ask you that you wish that I had?
As you were talking, I don't think it was a question, but I did want to say this to piggyback on what you just asked. And how the generations ahead of us, even as young people, can still continue to serve. The reason why I've known about you, T, for some years, but it wasn't until I saw you speak at a homegoing service for one of our teens that I felt like I needed to talk to you. I need to just hear from her and express what that message that I saw virtually did for me. And so when I reached out to you, I had never spoke to you before. You responded and said, let's link up. I had no agenda. I don't even really know what I was preparing to even share with you, but you making yourself available, that's that example of that exchange of wisdom, and that investment in me that is needed and more of across the generations. And so I acknowledge you for that, making yourself available. And even after having that conversation, I was then able to tell my students, I've experienced the amazing T Street, and they had also experienced you as well. And so you're a living example of what we are saying was what is needed for our generation. And we need more of that. We need more of that. I think that what I'm challenged with today is women of color not seeing me as a threat or an issue, but seeing me as a young sister who wants to learn from you. And you made yourself available in that way. And so your life truly speaks of what we're saying as young adults that we need, so that we can continue this journey and pour back into the young people.
I'm looking at some of the people who are online, some of the ones who've commented. My friend Stephanie, one of the things I'm loving about Stephanie in this season of her life, her business is prospering. And Stephanie, I want to tell you that part of the reason that your business is prospering is because you've been given much, and so you then sow back in. Every time you get a call to come and do a youth conference, you show up for our kids. And so I'm watching her business do that, but I'm also watching her mentor young therapists who are coming along behind her. I'm looking at some of the people who impacted my life. I see Mrs. Gillison on here. I see my friend Brandon, who came on my show a few weeks ago. I see Brian. I see my friend Liza, who is the second mom to my son when he absolutely could not hear my voice. Her son Jamal and Christopher are best friends, and Liza showed up for Christopher and still shows up for him when he and I are at war. I know that there's another place where he can hear the voice when he can't hear mine. I'm looking at some of these people. My friend Lisa was on here earlier. She was like, amen to that, say that. As you all are talking, one of the things that I want you to know is that there are a plethora of resources here for you. But I want my audience to know serving young people, y'all, costs.
Mm-hmm.
When I was young and I knew we were doing good work, we could not find funding anywhere. And I was watching people fund, like the big folks like United Way. I was funding garbage. I was like, they don't have no outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
I got 250 kids every week.
Mm-hmm.
These kids are staying with us for 4 years of high school, and you won't fund us, but you funded these programs that have 50 kids they claim, and you show up and there's 5 kids consistently, really, and they don't have any outcomes. And so I was watching that, and I used to be so frustrated. And then I had one of my mentors said to me, God will provide for you, T, because your work is not about dollars.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say to you is, to serve today's young people, you got to have some hooks. You got to have some nice little ice shirts. You do. Our kids are materialistic. And if you think you're going to serve them with cookies and chips like we did when they would wrangle us all with that whack juice at vacation Bible school, that's not attracting our kids, y'all.
Mm-mm.
Serving kids costs. And so one of the things that I'm committed to is we all get hit up to do the United Way campaigns and that are on our jobs, and everybody wants you to give. And we give to agencies that we don't even know what they do. We just write they take it out of my paycheck every month. I start directing mine.
Mm-hmm.
Most people know I'm passionate about kids going to college. So, I'll put money over it. I know I can because they send kids to college. I put money at the Delta Foundation of Greater Columbus because we're funding programs in this community that make a difference. But one of the things I want people to know, if you're looking for a place, and maybe your ministry is not in serving kids, maybe your ministry is sowing into people who serve kids.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, they did not ask me to do this. I'm telling you up front, they did not. I know that they got that uncomfortable look on their face. But let me ask you, if somebody wanted to sow into the work that you all are doing, Jerome has ICE Mentors and Aaron has Aaron Pink, 2 amazing, one male mentoring program, one female mentoring program. These young people have a heart for service to kids. If somebody wanted to just sow into you, when they get an extra blessing, they get the income tax, they want to drop off $200, where can they reach you?
Yeah, so you can visit us online at icementors.org. And so through our nonprofit, you can donate to both girl and boy programming through ICE Mentors. You can also visit aaronpink.com, and it will take you and direct you back to the ICE Mentors link to donate there as well. So whatever website you are on, it is easy to find donate, and you can contribute there.
I just put it in both the chats on on Facebook and also on YouTube. I put the icementors.org, y'all. So one of the things that I called Aaron the other day, and I just, I'm a person who leads with my heart. That's the only way I know to lead. I don't do anything I want to do. Everybody knows I'm the most obstinate person you will ever want to meet, because you can't make me do nothing I don't want to do. And I've been praying about some things, and most people know that I'm in therapy. I lost my mom last year, and I lost my mentor on the same date this year. And so I moved from my friend Stephanie just said I'm donated $100. Yay, thank you, Stephanie.
Yes, thank
Um,
you, Stephanie.
that's why her business is blessed, because Stephanie will sew. Um, and so I moved from as my therapist says, I moved from grief to trauma when you lose people like that. And so I've been thinking about, like, how can I honor my mom, who was the greatest influence in my own life. My parents were married 59 years until my mom passed. And like you, I grew up in the church, and I got to watch my models at home, and I watched my mom serve kids in church, and I was a Sunday school teacher and all that stuff. But I wanted to find a way to honor this year, to honor my mom, and to honor my mentor, Kathy Espy, in a way that would make a difference. And so God had told me what to do. And so I called Aaron. Mother's Day is in May. And this year, last year I made the decision that I will never spend Mother's Day in Columbus again. My sister and I went to Jamaica last year for Mother's Day. This year we're going to go to Cancun. But I called Aaron and I said, hey, in May, I want to make a contribution to Aaron Pink, because I believe both of these women understood the efficacy of sewing into girls. And so I committed, in my mother's name, I'm going to make a donation of $500 to Aaron Pink. And in Kathy Espy's name, I'm going to make a donation of $500, because the way that legacy continues and their lives go on having meaning is when we sow into those who are coming behind us.
Mm-hmm.
We all get to be great because we all use the quote. Black folks are the kings and queens of quotes. We are our ancestors' wildest dreams. You wear the shirt and you do nothing to leave a legacy. Our ancestors left heck of legacies for us. And so one of the ways that we can do that is to sow into these young people's ministry. They don't call it a ministry necessarily, because it's business. It's a business, but it is still ministry for them. And so I'm going to ask you, if you just feel led and you got extra $10 or $50 or whatever, that buys snacks. I'm just saying, that's a $20 is after school snacks for a program. So I just wanted to encourage you. And so I'm going to make that donation in May, in honor of Mother's Day, for the two women who mothered me to life, and in gratitude. And so some of the ways that our communities can start to do that is to pay forward the things that have been given to us. And so, Aaron, I thank you and Sharon for your heart for service.
Thank you.
It's never about bragging. You all bring the most humility I've ever seen in young leaders, and it's inspiring. And I'm not surprised that kids are like attracted to you and to the work that you do, because, as you said earlier, kids want to know that you care.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
They just want to know, and you both bleed that. We care, we care, we care. So I want to thank you for coming on tonight. I want to thank you for the work that you do in this community to transform the lives of girls and boys. I hate agencies that say, I'm only going to serve girls. Personally, I serve boys. I don't really do a whole lot of girl work. That's my confession. I don't do a whole lot of girl. Even in Delta, I was the Embody, which is the boys mentoring program, because boys have my heart, my passion. But I appreciate that both of you understand that when we save boys and girls, our community thrives. You don't have to serve one or the other. We can serve and save all of our kids.
That's right. That's right.
So thank you for your work. Is there any last parting words you all want to say to the audience?
You always leave me. I'm speechless when you start talking about giving, and your mom's, name. That just, I wasn't ready for that. Even when you called, when I saw your name on the phone, I pulled out a notebook and paper. I was prepared to just write whatever you said, and you started writing. I was writing $500, 500, and that call, that love and that service, I'm overwhelmed. So I'll let Sharon. You have anything to say?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. We so appreciate it, and for the encouragement that you provided to us both.
So we will all keep encouraging them. Y'all send them words of affirmation and love. Even if you don't have money to send them something to encourage them on this journey. Getting up to go serve our kids every day, it's hard. And when we're watching the things that we're watching in our community, it's hard. So even if you just can send them a word of encouragement to say, we're praying for you, we're thinking about you. My friend Brandon says, good evening, good talk. Gwen says, continued blessings to you both. Stephanie is saying, preach. After she said she was donating, I'm just saying. Stephanie, she quoted me. She was like, serving kids costs. Absolutely, T Street. Tykia is on with her heart. Y'all, for everybody who don't know, my girl Tykia has a passion for serving kids with disabilities and making sure that they have good mentors as well. My friend Brashandra is on here, who serves kids. If you're ever looking for a math tutor, holler at her, because Lord knows that is not my gift. But all of the folks who are online who are commenting, Stephanie says, continue to do good works. God will bless you. So I just want, and by the way, Ray, thank you for coming on.
Yes.
After I met with Erin, the conversation she prefaced earlier, I met with her. I get a call, or was it a text or a Facebook message from this guy that I've known forever, because he was, he used to work for my credit union and all kind of stuff. Talking about, I had met his daughter. I had no idea. I'm like, really, dude? But it's a very small world. And as she said, I understand why her parents are among her mentors, because he's a great man of God. And so I appreciate that. So you guys, thank you for everybody coming on tonight. I always close my show the same way. I'm the amazing T Street, but I can assure you there is absolutely positively nothing amazing in me that's not in each and every one of you. I charge and challenge you to walk in your own amazing. Have a good week, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.